Hi everyone, this is Tom with the LEC recap of this week. The LEC just finished its 8th week of play in the summer split, which was the final week in the regular split, and everything was determined in this week. Because there were 3 match days, I'm gonna try to keep the summaries of each match a bit shorter so that the video won't be too long, but as usual there will be highlights of interesting moments. And yeah, let's just get into the matches. The weekend started off with Vitality versus Rogue, and it started a bit quiet, I would have to say. No kills were made at 15 minutes, but still the game was far from even. Vitality had 2 Drakes at that point. They had taken a tower from Rogue already, and Rogue had done virtually nothing. So in general, I would say the game was pretty quiet, but slowly Vitality was getting more and more in the lead during the game. At 27 minutes, there were 2 kills on either side, so it just wasn't very interesting, not very explosive. Though at some point in the match, Rogue went for a team fight, then went for the Baron, and it started to look like a curse because, well...
Let's see how Vitality handle this.
I think without the package, this could have been a lot better for Vitality, because they could have stood at arm's length, they could have used the Caitlyn's Rage, but because Larson could just jump in straight away...
Kava has TP,
makes it a lot
so
harder.
does Melita.
Melita's going to TP in first. There's only 2,000 HP on that, though. You've got to fight it right now. He goes in, he's stolen it! Vitality, that could be something that secures your spot in playoffs.
And from there on, yeah, it was another Baron stolen for Rogue. Really, the curse seemed to be alive. Vitality just seemed too strong, and they won the game over Rogue. And this obviously gave Mad Lions the opportunity to get ahead in the standing to take sole #1 position in the league. But we'll get to that later. The second match was between XL and Origin, and you know, these teams were both desperately hoping to make it into the playoff stage. Now, in the early game, XL got a bit ahead with their objectives. They were applying proper pressure to Origin. But there was a point where Origin kind of shifted gears. They acknowledged that the laid-back attitude wasn't really working, which is their trademark style. And they started to push back a bit more aggressive, and Upset got ahead on his Jhin. He was miles ahead, actually, of Patrick in that game. Though XL didn't let it get to them. Origin, even though they were on Mountain Drakes, they had 3 Mountain Drakes already. When they tried to go for Baron, XL acknowledged, okay, now is the time for us to jump in. And it was Kryze, the top laner, who did so and won XL essentially the team fight, because it split up Origin, caused like chaos on that moment in the game. And from there on, XL was back into the game. So they went from 1-6 in kill score to 4-7 with that fight specifically. Origin got a Baron, though. They pushed back, the base was open, but XL was getting back with a Dragon Soul. And this is where really Origin should have closed out the game, because they were ahead in many regards. As I said earlier, XL's base was wide open. Origin had like a million chances to get a second Baron, but they waited and just didn't do anything. And then XL came in. They pushed Origin off the Baron, then didn't go for the Baron themselves, but actually went to the Elder Drake. They did get the Elder Drake, pushed the lanes out, got into Origin's base, and just ended the game. Then there was Schalke 04 versus Fnatic. Obviously a very hype matchup, because Schalke 04 had been doing very well in the previous weeks and Fnatic had been shaky. Still, Fnatic got a pretty comfortable lead, got first blood, got first Drake, so things weren't down for them from the get-go. But then God Gilius in the jungle struck again, and he was just harassing Whippo in the top lane into oblivion. He got 3 kills, and Whippo just didn't really have any impact on the game. He wasn't allowed to do anything. From there on, Fnatic did push back a bit again. They fought back and had a very good team fight at the Drake. But even though they had a chance to get in the game, they started to int again. And to Schalke's credit, they came together, they stepped up and showed dominance in team fights, as can be seen in this clip.
Not to And the Bone Skewer won't find a target. By the way, teleport's still not available for Bwipo as he's pushing the bottom lane. And we've just randomly caught Hylissang. Fnatic looked at Schalke walking towards them, and they've lost one. Now Reckless was caught up by the Tempered Fate, and here comes Bwipo. It is the turnaround. It's a 5-on-4. Bwipo is destroying the HP bars, but there's no support. There was no follow-up and dive. There's the slide and the glide, but the Emperor's Divide was on hold. That's the engage. That's a catch. And now Reckless is left alone. Gilius was able to lock down Nemesis.
From there on, it was just simply an onslaught. Schalke 04 dominated Fnatic in every sense of the word, and the Schalke 04 miracle run continued. Then it was followed by Mad Lions versus Misfits, and especially in the early game, the game looked pretty even. Misfits was strong in the early minutes, but Mad Lions managed to stabilize pretty quickly. They had some great lanterns from Kaiser on his trash, who helped his teammates escape a lot. And from there on, Mad Lions just slowly took over the game. They stomped over Misfits. Shadow was once again insane on the Lee Sin, and Humanoid was destroying on his Kassadin. Kaiser was finding hook after hook. Yeah, nothing surprising to be honest, but Mad Lions won that game pretty dominantly. Then we had G2 versus SK Gaming to close it off. And early on, SK Gaming put some good pressure on G2. They were getting kills on Crowny, who was playing on the Caitlyn, a very important champion to shut down at this point in a meta. And Mickey, even though G2 was trying to play very well, I can't say Mickey looked very good in the game. I think his Nautilus had missed hooks, missed flashes, and definitely a champion to work on. Definitely didn't matter for the outcome of the game though. G2 was getting good pressure in the lanes. They applied good pressure on SK Gaming in general, whether it was around objectives or roaming in the jungle, stuff like that. And yeah, when G2 put themselves on Infernal Soul Point, Caps was just dishing out insane damage on his Syndra, and SK Gaming couldn't quite recover from that, and G2 won their game. Now, the second day, still every team had a chance of making it into playoffs, no matter what the odds were. Some of them were pretty low. The race was still very much on, and it started off with Schalke 04 versus Vitality. A very important match, because if Schalke 04 won, they would stay alive in their race, and no team would be eliminated from playoffs contention yet. But if Vitality won, Schalke 04 was out. And early on, Vitality was doing pretty well, pushing well, control over the map, got Ocean and Cloud Drake. But then at 14 minutes into the game, Schalke came online and they finally got first blood. It was and they got 2 more kills, they got Mountain Drakes, and from there it was the turning point, I suppose, was when there was a team fight around the Dragon Pit, and Abedaga just styled on Vitality.
That Cabo Shard could ruin Gilius' day.
Oh, protect the president! Don't let him go down! Oh, Gilius is after the president. Comp running for his life, the suplexes, everything's coming out! They've stopped it all. The president is alive, but he's not doing any damage. Meanwhile, on the backside, Elite's is going to find one. Comp still standing. Schalke scrambling to find these kills, but they won't get the opportunity. That's the triple dot. That's big damage coming in. Oh, you were worried about the Kha'Zix, but you didn't know the Shen hit like a truck. Gilius now coming through the fight. Stealth going to have a brief moment here. Going to find another one. The reset comes out. Dreams, Abedaga. Little girl, little cat. What can they do here? Taking down the big bear. Next up is the big man. Mecha set, no chance here. Stolen flash, leap out. Drowsy come back. Boom, boom, slap, styling on him. Oh, God, just embarrass him. Breaking his ankles. There's nothing you can do, Cabo. You're just going to be embarrassed after this one. Your champion has no agency. Oh!
And yeah, from there on, Schalke 04 just rolled over Vitality, once again keeping their dream alive. The second game was between SK Gaming and Origin. And Origin, in a desperate attempt, because if they would lose this game, they would be out of playoff contention, finally decided to put Alfari, the top laner, arguably best top laner in the West, on a carry champion. They put him on a Camille, and Xerxes also got a champion of his liking. He was put on the Karthus in the jungle. But SK Gaming knew that Alfari was going to be the carry for them, so they tried to shut him down. And they did so quite successfully, getting 2 kills on him. Origin tried to, I think they tried to fight back, and I think it really showed how uncoordinated this team is when they tried to gank in the bot lane. There was a successful gank, and they were definitely gonna get a kill, But when Xerxes popped his ult on the Karthus to secure a kill, Jack Troll on a Tahm Kench decided to take that kill away, which made no sense at all. And I think, yeah, to some Origin season up, I think that was just a very telling moment, because by all means you should give Karthus that kill, because he then can get ahead and try to be a reliable damage dealer in the game, but a kill on Tahm Kench is just not gonna make that much of a difference. So yeah, it was a very easy fight, I would say, for SK Gaming in the end, and especially this fight was a defining moment.
Oh no.
Okay, so for those who are wondering what's happening, I figured out. So, okay, hold on. That Nukeduck now getting aggressive. Xerxes now stepping forward.
Oh my God!
That damage is disgusting. Ooh, took the perfect face breaker. Wombo combo. SK, they're not taking shit from OG today. OG getting popped.
From there on, SK Gaming got the Ocean Soul. Origin started panicking, but SK just punished them and pounced whenever they saw the opportunity to, and pretty comfortably won the game from there on out. XL versus Fnatic wasn't a very interesting fight to follow that either. XL was suffering from the early aggression that Fnatic was applying, and honestly Fnatic was showing up well. They were playing well and it was refreshing to see. I wouldn't say perfect yet. Honestly, they still have a long way to go to get to that level, but yeah, this match I can be specifically short about. Selfmade was going on a tear on his Kha'Zix, and it looked like the shape he was in on the first half of the summer split. He had returned to that shape, to say, and Fnatic just rolled over XL. Then we had Misfits versus G2 Esports, and G2 put on a lot of aggression in the early game. They didn't let Misfits do anything, and Caps, who has been such a reliable player for G2 this split specifically, when other teammates would falter, he would step up. Once again, was just doing well in the mid lane. He was playing on the Zoe, and this time actually he had a lot of help from Wunder, who was playing Dr. Mundo and was just not getting not giving Den any room, I should say. Mickey in a surprise turn of events was actually landing the hooks as a support, and at 15 minutes into the game, G2 had already broken Misfits' inhibitor turret in the mid lane. So that was quite over from there on. Impressively, I should say, maybe Misfits kind of held on. They want to fight in their jungle around the red buff, and held off G2 from getting that Cloud Soul. But you know, even though Kobe was getting comfortable on the Caitlyn, getting more items there, and tearing up some of the G2 members, I think this game was over at 15 minutes already, and G2 just persevered and they won their game. Then we came to the match of the week. Rogue versus Mad Lions. Mad Lions at this point 1 win ahead of Rogue in the standings, and with a victory would secure themselves the #1 spot in the LEC summer split. And Rogue obviously trying to fight back and trying to reclaim that tie between Mad Lions and keep themselves in the running for that #1 position. Mad Lions had an interesting composition when they last picked Kog'Maw into the mid lane for them, which was a bit difficult for for Rogue, I should say, to counter. But Rogue was actually the early aggressor. I think when you look at this split in general, that's quite a surprise, because Mad Lions is more notorious for their early aggression. But I think Rogue took a lesson from Vitality, who had beaten Mad Lions earlier in this split, and Vitality did so by playing aggressively early, and Rogue did the same. At like they got kills on Rome and Humanoid, so those two were shut down pretty early, and they were really in the face of the Mad Lions. And even though Mad Lions got the first 2 Drakes, Rogue was getting the kills. Hansama was at the 3-0 lead, far ahead of Karzi, and at 6-1 scoring kills, Rogue was just comfortably in a lead. Now, this game extended maybe longer than it should have, and there was a moment where the Kog'Maw Humanoid started to go online and just dishing out unreal damage, and it was a very important one for Rogue to shut down. But they did have a bit of trouble with that, and I think you should just watch this match. I think by far overall this match is just the match of the summer split in my opinion, given the stakes and given the excitement. But I just have to include the clip that defined this match, which was the ending.
All of his HP in a heartbeat, and now it's a 4v5 in favor of Matt. Kaiser's going to blast Cone in, looking for the damage on Finn. He lands the stun. Shadow stepping forward as well. Aroma's going to try and get in here, but Kazi is actually locked off towards the backside, and Finn is able to get himself down towards the bottom lane. Let's reset.
They don't care. They don't care if it's an unfair fight. They make it a fair fight.
I can't believe they're doing it.
Humanoid. Wait, let's have a look at the Drake. Let's have a look at the Drake right now.
Give me the Drake, give me the Drake, give me the Drake. Here we go. Okay, Shadow trying to fight us towards the base. He's TPing into the base. He's looking for the winner. Shadow goes golden. The Infernal dragging the target here for Rogue. With him in the base is Larson and Finn. Rogue are looking through. They're trying to get the back door onto Matthiesen, and Matthiesen don't have an hard recall. They don't have Baron. They get the Infernal. That's the soul, but is that enough? Here comes the TP. It's cancelled. It's cancelled. Rogue, for 1 second, it looked like you threw it, but what an incredible call. The inhibitor! Rogue stopped at the final hurdle by an inhibitor. Shadow goes down. Can they get back? TP coming in from the Humanoid. He tries to get towards the bottom lane.
There's no way he can't stop both of them.
They can't get there in time. Rogue have done it.
And with that, Rogue was back in the running for first place in the LEC Summer Split. On day 3, we kicked off with a match that didn't really matter for any of the parties involved. It was Misfits versus Vitality. Both teams already knocked out of playoffs contention at this point. Now, it was a pretty even start. Vitality had the opening kill, but Misfits got 2 kills a bit later. And even though Vitality was getting more kills, Misfits then stole a Drake and they got the Baron. So it was kind of a balance, and I couldn't really say who was gonna win at like 15 minutes or something like that. So slowly but surely the game was leaning more towards Vitality's favor, I think, especially with Comp and Militia showing up in the bot lane and mid lane respectively. Yeah, I would say slowly it was going Vitality's way, but Misfits definitely gained back. They had a very impressive fight at the Elder Drake and then immediately got Baron, which was a huge turning point in the game. And Misfits was in the driver's seat from that moment on, slowly just pushed into Vitality's base and closed out the game. With that, Schalke 04's miracle run was definitely still alive, because Misfits versus Vitality wasn't important for either of those two teams, but with it, it increased the odds of Schalke 04 making it. And then it was up to themselves to secure a win and not guarantee a spot in playoffs yet, but make it a dream scenario for them to put themselves there. It was Mad Lions versus Schalke 04. Early on, Abadaga already started to show up, getting a solo kill on Humanoid Blanc with on his Corki, and that is the situation around that was just miraculous that he caught that. And Abadaga definitely, even though it took him a bit longer than Gilius, has now come online. Is playing absolutely insanely well. Though Mad Lions did get some kills in return. The early to mid game was just pretty close overall, and I think that was in Schalke's favor, because they were looking like they would have a better late game. But you never know with Mad Lions, right? So I didn't really want to draw conclusions yet. And Mad Lions got the first 2 Drakes. Schalke then got the first Ocean Drake. But there was just one moment. I think there was something. A switch was flipped within Schalke 04, where earlier in the season, their early game would be decent and their late game would crumble. This time, their late game just flourished and just lived up to every hype moment that Schalke has ever had. And the best moment to illustrate that in the team fight was this.
Ocean Soul, Mad Lions must secure the smite, but Gilius has beaten Shadow every single time.
And not only are Schalke on the verge of making the miracle run a real possibility, the 0-9
What's it gonna be?
Ash is on the verge of picking up
for
the
the
first
smite.
win. The soul is
It's
in
Gilius again!
Gilius does not lose those. Mad Lions are inside the pit. They're chasing. They've lost one. They're stuck. They're done. There's no ways. This is the game for Schalke. They've won the fight. They're going to get the ace. They're not going to lose a single person, and they've got enough time to push down the pace.
Yeah, Schalke won. Now, they were still reliant on either two scenarios of winning. Either G2 had to defeat Excel, or SK had to beat Fnatic to secure a spot for Schalke 04. So those matches would be held later, but this also put Rogue in a unique spot to qualify themselves as first team in the LEC, first seed for the playoffs bracket, and with that automatically a first ticket to Worlds in the world. So they would be the first team to win. They were playing against Origin, and even though Origin had faltered a lot during this split, you can obviously not underestimate them. A team with nothing to lose can all of a sudden maybe play even better. Well, luckily for Rogue, not Origin in this case. Rogue, acknowledging that they would have to shut down Alphari to maximize their odds of winning the game, had a lot of early aggression in the top lane, and Alphari, he was inting a bit, I have to say, not his best showing at all. But overall, I think the biggest performance was Finn. He was playing a Renekton, and he hadn't been a carry in this split for a while. Mostly Rogue is playing through Larsen, as everybody knows, and he was just stepping up massively. And yeah, Rogue was simply too strong, and it was their game to lose. Still, I wouldn't say that Origin at any point was really into the game or had a real chance to win it, but Rogue, acknowledging that if they rushed it down, there was an opportunity that maybe Origin would punish them and get back into the game. Rogue just defaulted back to their trademark style, is just taking it calm and pushing out the game slowly, which is what they're good at and which is what they did. So Origin tried to make some desperate plays just to show that they had it to win a game against Rogue, but it didn't happen. And with that, Rogue won. They secured first place in the LEC, and with that locked in their spot for Worlds as well, as we'll get to later. Now, then it was up to G2 versus XL, and as said earlier, if G2 won, it would eliminate XL from playoffs competition and lock in Schalke 04 and secure Schalke 04's miracle run. And yeah, I think it was closer than I expected it to be, because even though G2 got 2 kills early on, XL stood impressively strong. Patrick came online on the Ezreal. Patrick has been the carry for XL this summer split long, same way kind of that Crownshot has been the carry for SK Gaming, and Larsen has been the carry for Rogue. Similarly, Ezreal started to come online for Patrick, and that looked like XL had a chance of making it back into the game. And I think the back and forth in the mid game was quite long, with kills going either way. There wasn't really one big turning point. I think in general, just G2 showed their macro dominance a lot in this game. And even though the kills weren't necessarily going one way, G2 knew exactly how to apply pressure and pushed in XL and pushed in their lanes and got XL on the back foot through sheer rotations and sheer applying of pressure. And with that, yeah, I think that was just in general why G2 won this game, just pushing in XL exactly where they needed to. And yeah, G2 won, and with that, Schalke 04 was also locked into the playoffs. And Fnatic was also locked into the playoffs because of this result. Now, the final game of the week and of the LEC Summer Split regular season was between Fnatic and SK Gaming. Both teams already locked into the playoffs. Both teams already sure of what seed they would be in, given that Fnatic had a lot of championship points from the spring split and SK Gaming had none. So they could change positions, but Fnatic would be the 4th seed regardless. And with nothing to lose, both of these teams played, and it was pretty enjoyable to watch. I have to say now, the very early game wasn't very explosive, but with both teams harassing each other a bit. But then Fnatic just kept finding kills, and at 15 minutes into the game, the score was 9-2 in kills for Fnatic. At 20 minutes into the game, it was 15-6 for Fnatic. and especially Whipple on his Camille was just standing up and showing up, and yeah, he especially had a good game, but Reckless was also doing well. I have to give credit to him as well. And honestly, Fnatic as a whole looked pretty good. Like, again, not perfect, but much better than they had in the weeks before, and they really pulled their crap together and stood up when it mattered most. Now, with that, the LEC Summer Split finally came to a close after 8 weeks of chaos and competition, and these were the standings. Rogue is the #1 team in the LEC with a 13-5 score at the end of it. Mad Lions stumbled a bit towards the end and ends the split with a 12-6 score. Then comes G2 with 11 wins and 7 losses. Fourth is Fnatic with a 9-9 score, but a better tiebreaker result than SK Gaming, who finished 6th. We have Schalke 04 as the 6th slot in the LEC, and they have an 8-10 score, winning over XL Esports, who on tiebreakers lose to Schalke 04 and end as a 7th spot. Then we have Misfits and Vitality at 7-11, and Origin closes off the list with a disappointing 6-12 score this summer split. Now, before we get into the playoff schedule, it's very important to remember that the LEC playoff standings granted each team championship points, and the seeding in the playoff stage was done based on total championships points, also factoring in the spring split points. And in a tie situation, which actually happened, Rogue and G2 had the same amount of championship points, the summer split points would weigh heavier. So that meant that Rogue finished with the highest seed. They were first, then G2, who carried over a lot of points from the spring split and combined with their 3rd place result are ahead of Mad Lions. The 3rd seed is Mad Lions, the 4th seed is Fnatic, then you have Schalke 04 and SK Gaming, who both will be playing from the lower bracket, as we can see now, because let's look at the schedule. Schalke 04 face off against SK Gaming in an elimination match, best of 5, and they will have to fight all the way through the lower bracket should they want to make it to the finals. In the upper bracket, Rogue has chosen Fnatic to play against as first opponent in the LEC summer playoffs. This means that G2 has automatically been paired with Mad Lions, this time more of an accident than in the spring split when G2 faced against Mad Lions, and yeah, they lost that best of 5, so it's going to be an interesting rematch for sure. Now, what does this mean? This means that Rogue is automatically qualified for the World Championship, because even if they lose, they would drop all the way to match 6 in the bracket, as you can see in the image, and that would mean they are at worst 4th and still secure a spot at Worlds with that, because the LEC has 4 World slots this year. Interestingly enough, if Rogue win against Fnatic, Fnatic drops to match 4 because they are the lowest seed of every team in the upper bracket. And even though G2 or Mad Lions might lose in their match, one of them has to lose, right? A Rogue win over Fnatic would also automatically qualify G2 and Mad Lions for Worlds. Because of the seeding, G2 and Mad Lions could then at worst still only be 4th. It's a bit complicated, but you'll understand it more as the week plays out. That rounds up my LEC recap of this week. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also stay tuned for more content.